everybody, it's me, Bryson Booker, and it's time for another CD review just for you. Never did a CD review in a while. Why? Because I haven't really been buying too many CDs lately. But I have recently got back into CDs. I kind of stopped my whole, trend of collecting vinyl and cassettes because every time I go to Goodwill and look at the vinyls, they're sucky ones. I mean, I hate polka. Who likes polka? No one likes polka. And Christmas albums in July. I mean, come on. But that's all I see at Goodwill. And then when I actually go somewhere that has good vinyl, such as, Barnes and Nobles and Guitar Center, they're like $45. And I'm not paying $45 for another Daft Punk album. I'm just not doing it. So when I go to Goodwill, I normally look at the CDs. And when I look at the CDs, I stumble upon gems such as Sugar Ray's 1459, released by Atlantic Records and Lava Records in 1999. So yeah, I get gems like this. I get the Backstreet Boys. I get NSYNC. All of those artists that I love from the 90s. I can find a whole slew of them at Goodwill, in the CD section at Goodwill. And so I just been doing that. Just been buying CDs at Goodwill. Hopefully Goodwill will start carrying good vinyl someday. But right now, Goodwill is known for bad vinyl. Don't go to Goodwill to buy vinyl. Just keep it in mind there. Believe my word here. But anyway, this is a good CD released by Sugar Ray. I believe it was their third CD release. Don't take my word on that, because before this, in 1997, they released Floored, which obviously had the hit, I Just Wanna Fly. Come on, do the African guy impression right there. Come on, I know you know it. But it had that hit, as well as some other hits that were featured on, not other hits at all, but other songs that were featured on the soundtrack for Road Rash 3D, which I don't care what anybody on YouTube says. I personally like playing Road Rash 3D for the PlayStation 1. Again, don't care what you say. It's a good game with a good soundtrack. Sugar Ray is featured on that soundtrack. Sadly, not any songs from this album, but their previous album, Floored. But yeah, they've been in the business for a while. Basically, I think since '95, since their first album, Lemonade and Brownies. Don't ask me where that name came from. But they've been in the game for a while. So by the time this came out, people were like, oh yeah, Sugar Ray, that punk band. I mean, no, that, kind of chill out band, They didn't really even know what they were. They were just a band of guys that like to play different types of music. And they came together and made this album. But Sugar Ray followed a trend in the late 90s that almost, I wouldn't say every group was doing, but what almost every group, besides the bubblegum pop phase of the decade, as in Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera, and Bewitched, they were doing something completely different. But then this other side of the spectrum wanted to be the kind of the rock pop, some sort of smoothie that really didn't make sense, but they just wanted to blend rock and pop and chill out music and country music and coffee house music together and serve it up and drink it. And a lot of bands were doing that. Sugar Ray was one of those bands, because if you compare 1459 to one of their earlier albums, such as Lemonade and Brownies, still, I don't know why that name, but okay. There's a big shift, specifically by 1997's album Floored. Sugar Ray shifted in their musical styles. Yes, they kept their original roots, which is present on this album. They did keep kind of the punk rock sound that they kind of started out with when they first came out. But obviously that crap didn't make it on the charts. But it's on this album, and I wouldn't ignore it either. But again, people really don't know them for being the punk rock band. They just know them for making songs that were basically meant for summertime in the late 90s. And still are a mainstays at barbecues, pool parties, and water parks across America, and hopefully the world. And again, this is just one of them. 1459 features two hit singles that made it on the charts in 1999, as probably as well as 2000. But you have Someday. That was a song that came off of 1459, as well as Every Morning. All right. So Every Morning and Someday were the two hits that came off of Sugar Ray's 1459. Those songs, if you have not heard them in a Pandora playlist or Groove Shark playlist or Spotify playlist, you must not be a 90s person who likes music. I mean, those songs are some of the obvious tracks that people think of when they're like, boy, I want to listen to the 90s today. You know, you put on Someday, it's like, okay, I'm instantly in 1999 or 97. You know, whoever's listening to it, sometimes people get the years wrong and they're like, oh, I know this. It's from the 90s, but I just don't know what year. So I'm just going to put it in, I don't know, 1994. But no, Someday, Every Morning came out in 1999. But, you know, they're just two of the most recognizable 90s songs that you could ever hear. Those of you who haven't heard them, millennials, go listen to them right now before you even complete this review. Because I just want to get the hits out of the way, you know, before I even get into these other songs and how great they are. Okay, so go do that now, and I'll wait for you, and you can come back here. I can wait for you as long as you press the pause button. I'm moving on now. Okay, so other songs we have on here are these two kind of interesting tracks that are at the beginning of the album and at the end of the album called New Direction. So that's track 1, and that's also track 13, New Direction. The first track of New Direction is kind of like a punk metal kind of mosh type of song. You know, it kind of, you know, it makes you want to fight and box. It's only like, I don't know, a minute or even like 30 seconds. But that, what a great song to introduce the album with, guys. A punk song, a metal song that doesn't make any sense. What a great way to introduce an album such as this. You know, the 90s, you just had to love them. And then at the end, you get another one called New Direction, which this is kind of like it sounds like you're at a carnival. It sounds like a circus. You know, and again, you guys have to hear what I'm talking about. I can only describe these songs to you. You have to hear them. You know, so I would encourage you to sit down and listen to this album and hear those tracks. But the end is, it sounds like an ending of a carnival ride or something. You know, but those are the other kind of unique tracks on 1459. Other great songs includes Falls Apart, The Personal Space Invader. That's a good one. Live and Direct featuring KRS-One. So they are the special rap group that makes an appearance in that song. But again, a lot of these songs are mellow. Some of them, like Personal Space Invader, kind of put you in a mosh type rock mode. You know, so that's what this album does. It blends kind of like a mellow type of music with kind of like a mosh and, you know, heavy rock kind of type of sound. So I kind of learned to call it, here we go, mosh mellow. That's what this album is. It's just a whole new genre for itself. Mosh mellow. It's a little bit spicy with the rock and roll, but then it mellows it out and reminds you, you know, like, hey, it's summer, guys. Chill out. And that's where songs like Every Morning and Ode to the Lonely Hearted, another very unique and clever song, gotta give it to them for that one, come in. You know, and Glory and Abracadabra. Abracadabra is basically a cover song that they did based on, I think, a song from the early 80s. So if you're wondering about Abracadabra on 1459, that was based on another song by another artist that was made, I think, in like the early 80s. I can't remember exactly. The early to mid 80s that song came out. But they redid it, and they did a pretty good job with it, adding that late 90s glamour to it. Another interesting song that actually made an appearance outside of this album was a song called Aim for Me. And honestly, when I first heard the song on this show, it was kind of like they were saying infamy, 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 but they're really saying aim for me, aim for me. And the place I heard this song was so unusual. I heard it on a TV show called Dawson's Creek. Again, I don't know if you guys know about Dawson's Creek. Well, if you're a 90s fan, I mean, you should, right? Like, duh. teen drama from the late 90s airing on the WB from like 1997 to 2002. I'm sorry, 1998 to 2002. Let me get my facts straight. But anyway, teen drama, enough said. During one of the episodes, I can't remember, maybe it was from like season 2 or 3, but there was an appearance of Aim For Me on that TV show. And I'm like, wait a minute. They did that? Again, nobody would ever know that Sugar Ray is secretly a punk band. Because on the mainstream, you were hearing stuff like Fly and Every Morning. It's like this other stuff is like, whoa, they do that? So it's an interesting album. All of the songs have an interesting feel to them. Some of them sound the same, but for the most part, it's an enjoyable ride. It's an enjoyable ride on your summer vacation. And that's what this album was made for. I mean, just look at it. People in the pool, even on the back of the album cover, you got swimmers that are in a very weird position. Obviously, there's some sort of secret message behind that. I don't know. These rockers always had some subliminal message. And then there they are, getting off a plane. And they were dumb enough to put the title tracks or the tracks of the songs like in the album sleeve. So that was kind of stupid. But it's a great album from Sugar Ray. I would encourage you to check it out. 1459, released in 1999 by Atlantic Records and Lava Records. Interesting marshmallow type album. Love it. Give it a try.